Hello, everybody.
Hello!
Yay!
Yay!
Hi, Susie. Hi, May. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second Talk to the Animal Stat conversation. We had such a great time last week having a chat with Susie and asking her a load of questions and what have you. We thought we'd do it again. Why not?
Why not?
So, if I could, well, is there anything that you want to start with, Susie? Because I have a question.
Well, go for it. Go for
Shall
it,
I go for
Maureen.
it?
Of
Okay.
course.
So I had a question, and it was around how animals view humans after they die. So we know that animals don't have a point of view about all of this, but humans have huge points of view when their pet leaves them. And I wondered what sense you have of what the pet would be saying to the human after they'd gone and the human was all sad.
Yeah, that's a great question, and to be honest, like I have yet to meet a pet that will hold a grudge after they die, because I think the biggest issue that most people have is usually how this whole thing comes about. I mean, if it was an accident of sort, that's one story, right? But if it is basically something that was foreseeable, like the animal is old or it had a disease, a lot of people struggle with the timing. Like, do I put them down? Do I just let them die? Are they suffering? What's going on for them? I think those are huge struggles that people have. And also animals, they can perceive if we are not ready to let go. And so a lot of animals might hold on longer because they know that we are holding on to them and they want to do the best for us, really. And they don't really have, like you said, they don't have a point of view about death. They don't see death in the way we do, but they want to please us. They always want to please us. So there's a lot going on, and I actually have dedicated a whole page on my website to all of that. So if you have basically something going on like that in your life, we will post the link later, and you can have a look there. There's a lot of audios, there's a lot of stuff, there's even a meditation there. But what I want to say is the animals that I have been in contact with, or that people actually have been in contact with after they died, have never held any kind of grudge about the timing, or this was done wrong, or you made a mistake. Honestly, they are always like, hey, be happy, live your life. Please don't, hold on to the sadness. I want you to celebrate your life. And that is, I think, the biggest message that animals have for us. Please don't go into a depression over me not being here anymore. Please continue with your life. Please have fun, and then the funny thing is, and whether you believe in it or not, but I have spoken with so many people that have said to me, look, I can swear that this cat is a cat I had before, or this dog is my dog from another life. Like, he has the same shenanigans. He has the same way of acting over certain things that are so unique. I've never had an animal like this. And now here it is, and it has the exact same weird little things going on. I can swear this is my dog. This is my cat. So I just want to encourage everybody to please don't see death as the end all. There is a possibility that the being, and in Access Consciousness, we talk about the difference between being and body. The being can choose a new body, and it can actually choose to come back to you. And if that's something you desire, you can actually even have that conversation before your pet dies. And you can say, hey, look, if you're willing to come back, I am also willing to have you back. Some people are like, you know what, I want a break after this animal dies. I don't want another animal. But even that doesn't matter. Like, I had a cat and she died. She was 23 years old. She died. I didn't desire to have another cat. And it really 10 years later, she showed up again. And I knew
Wow.
it was her, So time is really not, it's really not like a thing for animals either. There is no time. So anything is possible, really.
That actually gives me a little bit of comfort, because my last cat, Millie Cat, she sort of died in traumatic circumstances almost, and I felt really bad about it. And now you saying, she's probably, and I know she's been back 3 or 4 times since she went, and there doesn't seem, the energy doesn't seem to be like, what did you do to me, or anything like that, but just having that acknowledgement that they have, they don't hold a grudge afterwards, is actually quite comforting, I think.
Yeah.
And that
And
whole thing about animals holding on, a friend of mine was trying to hold on to her dog when the dog had been ready to go for ages. And when I finally talked to her into saying to the dog, it's fine, go, then the dog went straight away.
yeah.
It didn't help her. She was still heartbroken, but at least the dog was not in the same sort of situation. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and this whole thing about being heartbroken and everything, I know a lot of it, it's not easy. It's never easy to lose a loved one. And it really, to me, doesn't matter. A lot of people say, how could you say that? But to me, like anybody who's our companion, whether it's a person or an animal, can have, an impact when they leave. So, whatever, people may scold me for that. I don't really care, but I know how hard it can be, sometimes for somebody to go through that, no matter, if it was an animal or a person. And I think the important part is that we find a way for us to make that easier, and there's no one who can tell you how to do this properly. So please don't buy into anybody's point of view about that, and I think it's important that you are willing to actually have the connection with whoever passed and be present with that being and allow a conversation, because that might be the most helpful of all, is to really get into a conversation, and not from a point of view that you have about it, where you go into the guilt, but where you really actually connect with that being and allow them to have a conversation with you. And if you're open to that, that can really give you a lot of space, and can probably also alleviate some of the pain that you have. But again, nobody can tell you how you should experience that, and nobody can tell you what's right or wrong about this. The only thing I can say is that I have to yet meet an animal that wants us to suffer because they died. I have not met one yet. So, so yeah, that's one thing I can say. And, and we have a comment here from Vicky who said, a great question is also the other way around. Like, how do animals perceive a person dying, and what can that do to them? And like, what happens, and to me, the important part about that is communicating with this animal, because we often have the assumption that the animal knows what happened. But that actually is not always correct. Yes, animals are psychic. Yes, animals can perceive things, but sometimes they're actually not aware that their owner died. And there's actually a great story of this animal communicator, Anna Breitenbach, who went to see this parrot that had been taken on, that was like a parrot type bird that had been taken on by a sanctuary. And it didn't know that its owner had to leave the country very suddenly because of an immigration issue. And so that bird was really depressed, but it was also holding on to, when is my person coming back? And when Anna told the bird that the person wasn't coming back, it died within a couple of days. And of course, the funny thing was they went all into like, how sad is that? And I thought, yay, finally the bird had a choice, and it wasn't trying to hold on to something that was never going to show up again. And so, why not give the animals a choice and not make it a sadness if the animal then also chooses to die? Okay, cool. That is a choice they can make. And again, they don't see death in the same way we do. But to actually really make it clear to them, like, hey, your person is not coming back, and and have a conversation like you would with a child, possibly, like explain it to them. Take the time to actually explain it to them and make it a real simple conversation, but let them know, hey, that person ain't coming back. And now
Mm.
you are going somewhere else, whether that's a shelter or another person or whatever is happening, but you are now entering a new life. And then giving them the choice of like, oh, yay, or nah, I'm not doing that. Being willing to basically give them that as a choice.
Mm. That sort of follows on from the conversation we were having last week. How do you communicate with your animals when you're not around? Because that separation is the same whether you've gone to another state, another country, or death. It's the same separation, I guess, isn't it, for the animal?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's interesting. That brings me another question then. What conversations do you have with your animals just before you go away?
Right. Well, I will tell them that, look, I am going on a trip and I will return. But I think we talked about this last time. I really stay connected to them now. I really pay a lot of attention to not energetically separate myself. And it's very interesting. Of course, when I pull out the suitcases, all my animals are like, oh, there she goes, but not buying either into the sadness of that, but to actually be like, hey, look, I'm returning. And I use the moon actually to let them know, because I'm usually gone a bit longer. So I always show them the moon phase to my return, because if I was just gone for a couple of days, I would probably use the sun as a reference, like sun up down, up down, up down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I use the moon because it's often over a month or a month. And then I can show them, hey, look, when the moon is like this, I shall be returning to the doorstep.
And do they know that? Wow.
Well, Maureen, do they know that?
That's amazing.
Well, just get a sense of that. I mean, in nature, like I said, time is something that we have invented. We have clocks and we have dates and we have all this stuff. But to animals, it's about, like, they know seasons, winter, summer, depending where they live on the planet. Of course, everything is a bit different. But of course, they do know the moon. They have a sense of it.
Well, the moon has a really strong energy as well, and I guess that they can sense the energy at the different phases of the moon as well. So, yeah. Oh, wow. So my other question I wanted to ask today was, so Charlie Cat has a lot of dog tendencies. So Charlie Cat is a bit like your cat. He comes out wherever I'm working, he's there. When I go, because my greenhouse is a walk away, he comes with me all the time. And I say to him, come on, then we're going home now. Off he trots behind me and comes back again. And so is there a mix-up anywhere? Can animals get a bit mixed up between what they were before and what they've chosen to come back to now?
That's a great conversation, and that goes a little bit into this whole conversation of entities. So it is possible that an animal actually has another animal also with them in their body. I have many times run into that with facilitation. But also it depends a little bit, like in your situation, it might also be something that, do you enjoy having your cat there as your partner in the garden when you go out? Because animals will also really often really make it so that we're having fun with them, and they might alter their way of being also, not because there is a dog in your cat's body also, but because your cat knows that you enjoy the company. And so your cat is like, yeah, I can come out and hang out with you, and yeah, I'll go home with you now. So it doesn't always have to be like, oh, if your cat is acting like a dog, that means there's a dog entity in your cat, but it could be. I have seen it with all kinds of animals. I have literally, Gary Douglas one time was called by a participant from his classes, and they said, hey, there's this horse that is sitting on the front porch of these people's houses, like literally with its butt. Which horse sits on its butt? Like, I have never actually met one before, so basically Gary was like, well, maybe can you ask if there's an entity, maybe there's a dog entity in the horse. And so it was really interesting because he went there to facilitate those people, and what he learned was not only was this horse sitting on the porch, also the other horses were not at all willing to integrate that horse into the group. The horse had a lot of digestion issues. It would colic all the time, which is where horses really get a very upset stomach. And so he was like, So he cleared the entity of the dog out of the horse. And within 2 weeks, that horse's life changed completely. It didn't sit on the porch anymore. The other horses accepted it into the herd, and its digestion issues changed. But if you just look at it from a horse being inside of, a dog being inside of a horse, just imagine, like, what do dogs do when they eat grass? They throw up, right? But a horse cannot throw up. So this horse was constantly getting colics, and that all stopped once that dog entity was out. So, influences from other energies can absolutely be there. And a lot of times you will see that by behavior stuff. So a lot of times when you think, well, my dog is like a cat, you may want to ask, is there a cat in there with my dog? Vice versa, etc. But like I said, animals are also so willing to really please us and our demands and our ask of them, that sometimes that behavior could also be just that. So
it's interesting because my other cats, neither of them did that. Neither of them were that interested in pleasing me. They were more like because I was new to cats, it was like, oh, cats don't care. Cats walk around, say, you love me, you'll do anything I want, kind of thing. Where it doesn't have that same sort of thing like a dog does, where it says, oh, I love my human. And so it surprises me that Charlie Cat, because he's such a little independent little thing as well, he's just about to jump up on the house roof at the moment, that he would be even considering pleasing me. It's very much, I always gather.
Or he just enjoys your company. It doesn't even have to be that. Like he just enjoys hanging out with you too. Like, why not?
Yeah. I just didn't realize that was a cat thing, to be honest.
Well, maybe it's not a cat thing, but it's a Charlie Cat thing.
Yeah, it's a Charlie Cat thing. Yeah, it is, and I like it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because the other thing is too, we often come to the conclusion that all cats are alike, all dogs are alike, or this is a cat trait, this is a dog trait. And yes, there's some true in that, of course. Dogs have certain traits that are dog traits, and cats have certain traits that are cat traits. Absolutely correct. But to assume that they all are the same, that's where a lot of people also get into trouble. Please recognize that your animals are individuals, and they will have their own little things that are going on for them. And the cool thing is, like in this class, in the Talk to the Animals class, you will really get that asking questions is what is going to give you the most awareness of any of those things. But if you function from conclusion, most of the time, it's going to be difficult, because then you have a conclusion in your life. And with that conclusion, you no longer see what might actually be true. And so, that's what gets us in trouble, is all these conclusions we come to. And animals can really be very helpful in basically showing us that we need to ask more questions, and I literally just had that situation too with my dog Charlie, not your cat Charlie. And he's getting older, and it's really interesting, like, to adapt to that. With every animal is different in that whole situation too. And I really have to every day look at this and go, okay, are you coming for a walk today? Yes. How far are you going? How slow do I go? Like today, it was very interesting. He kept stopping and looking at me like, are you coming back? And I'd be like, no, not yet. And then I would hide behind a bush, and he would be like, coming. And then I'd be like, hey, are you willing to go any further? Maybe, so it's just really interesting to kind of play with that too. And then all of a sudden he got really happy and he started strutting in front of me. And so I was like, oh, cool. I didn't give up on our walk. I didn't give up when he stood there the first time, and I could have easily turned around and said, hey, you don't want to go today. But I just kept asking, should I go a little further? Yes. Should I hide behind bush? Yes. And then all of a sudden he was all happy and wagging his tail and like really kind of like So yeah, it's always asking questions, not like, oh, he's older now, so he has to stay home, or, oh, I have to force him to go, or I have to, it's very much work. Questions actually are easy, but we're not taught to ask them. So initially they seem like more work, but they actually make your life easier.
Yeah. That just leads me to a question as well about how good are animals at manipulating? And not only us, as an individual owner, but how kids can play one parent off against the other. It was just something that you were saying there. I thought, I wonder if animals do that. I didn't, and I'm sure that Charlie Cat has done that. My mum didn't give me the supper that I expected. I'm going to ask my dad when he comes out, can I have some supper? Is that a thing, or am I just making that up, do you think?
Well, what do you know? Because it's like, I mean, animals are smart, and they know also, like, they learn very quickly, how do I get something? Like, if your animal wants something, they know how to get it. So for example, my animals know that they will never, ever, ever get me to feed them off the table. And I actually don't like it when they're standing there drooling, right? So my animals don't even try. They all are laying in their beds when I'm eating, like, they know no chance of anything falling off that table by accident even. So they don't even try. And even if they would try, I would basically shoo them away. And they know that. Well, when I have company, all of a sudden, they're like, new person. I wonder what their rules are about food. So they kind of walk by, and then they kind of like put their head on this person's lap and look at them, and, or they kind of like rub against them. And I always laugh, but I'm like, here you go trying, good on you. Not ever give up, that's the motto here. It is a possibility that this person will sneak something off their plate into your mouth. Who knows?
Yeah, that is brilliant. Yeah, because once Charlie Cat's in at night, he's in for the night now. Ever since he was poorly, we've kept him in at night. But he knows that if somebody arrives at the door, he might sneak out. And if he even hears the door handle going, either the front or the back, he's there. I just might get out this time, even though I know I'm not really going to get out. Yeah, they are so funny, aren't they? Yeah,
they are definitely opportunists.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, even just this short time that what I've learned in these two little conversations that we've had live, I can't imagine how much more there's going to be, with three 4 days together for
Yeah.
evening sessions together. And yeah, and do the animals sort of come on for their own facilitation? You know, so I can see that you would facilitate a person to have better communication, but is there that opportunity where the animal pops up and it says, hey, can you train my human?
Yes. Well, the thing is, like, sometimes what I have noticed, and that is not very uncommon actually, um, but it's usually in situations where the person is already aware that there is some kind of communication breakdown. So it's usually never out of left field. Like, if you have a very happy relationship with your pet, usually there aren't like a big surprise coming out that your pet is like not enjoying this or wanting a change here, but you usually are aware of it. You already have some kind of behavior stuff going on, or your animal is not well, or there's all these things that are already like an indication that something is missing, or something has been miscommunicated, or something is just not clicking. And and then I have seen it many times where the animal, either there was an expectation of the animal and the animal couldn't fulfill it, or wasn't even sure what was being asked for, or all these different things that can go on. And once we clear all that up, it can really change so much. I've seen and gotten feedback from people that basically were saying, look, after our times here together, my entire relationship changed. I no longer had the pressure on that I had put on myself, that then I was also putting on the animal. So for example, like a lady who wanted to compete with her horse, and her horse didn't actually desire to compete, at least not in what this person wanted to compete in. Her horse was willing to do something different, but not what she wanted. She wanted a jumper. That horse did not want to jump. And she kind of knew it, but she didn't give herself permission to really know, because she got into all these conclusions. I have this expensive horse. I want to jump, so now I have to jump this horse. She didn't even look at any other opportunities or possibilities that she could have with another horse. She felt bad about that, or, all this different stuff. And so when we are able to clear these things up, then everyone has choice. She could say, you know what, I really can only afford one horse, so I have to let this one go because it doesn't want to jump. Cool. I mean, even that would be creating so much freedom for everybody. But if we come to conclusions, it makes it so hard. And for everyone involved, also the animal, because that animal, if it doesn't want to jump, she's never really going to win competitions, because the animal is not in it, and so we have to be willing to look at these things and not ignore them. And you can't force an animal to do something that it doesn't desire to do, or maybe it's not capable. Not every horse is a jumper. Not every horse can do agility. I'm sorry, not every dog can do agility. There are certain animals that have a hard time learning things, and others learn really fast, and they're fantastic. Some are great athletes, and others are clumsy. We have to be willing to really work with every individual here, and not come to a conclusion that every horse can do this and every dog can do that. That's sad when we have these expectations, because it's not true. None of us are like Michael Jordan. There's one Michael Jordan in the world, right?
Yeah. And it's and how much, once we've made a choice, like that lady had made the choice that that was the horse that she was going to have, and how wrong does this society and reality make us? Because, oh well, we've only just bought that horse, and now I'm going to sell that horse, without again coming to without asking the question, well, were the two, was the expectation of horse of owner and owner of horse in the same space. I know expectation is probably not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Were they going down the same road kind of thing? And clearly they weren't, were they?
No, not in this case.
Yeah.
So I've got
Literally.
I've got a question for you, Susie. Is this class Talk to the Animals just for people who've got pets? Or is it also for people who don't necessarily have pets, but have a communion with, say, wild animals or insects, any birds, bees? I know we sort of touched a little bit on the birds last week, but even expanding further beyond that.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna even
Yeah.
broaden that more, because honestly, I've had so many people give feedback that their relationship with their kids have changed and their relationship with their partner changed from this class, because in this class, it's all about recognizing the energetic communication that is going on. And you have an energetic communication even with other people. And
Absolutely.
oftentimes, and especially as children, we have experienced it ourselves. Let's say your parents, have problems with money, but they don't want to tell you about it, right? As a kid, the parents may not give you that information because they want to withhold it, but you are perceiving an energy and something is up. And so, but you don't know what it is. And you keep asking your parents, are you okay, mommy? Are you okay, daddy? And then they go, yes, yes, child, I'm okay, I'm okay. But it's actually not quite true. In this class, you really are going to be encouraged to listen to your awareness and not listen to what comes out of people's mouths or the things that we have been learning about what's right and wrong, but to really actually pay attention to your awareness and to follow that. And to also recognize that, people don't necessarily always lie to you because they want to lie to you, but a lot of times they lie to themselves. And so, they're not really congruent with the energy that they're being out there in the world. And so you really start to trust yourself more. And so the feedback literally has been phenomenal about people saying, wow, this has helped me with my partner, with my husband, my wife, my kids, because all of a sudden it's like that energetic conversation is louder, and you're willing to actually trust that you are receiving it.
I love that. As a child, I could not walk, or I found it very difficult to walk out in nature. And I've since in adulthood realized that I was so aware of all the little insects on the ground and I could hear them, but I couldn't hear them. I was just aware that they were there. But today I can perceive them in a totally, totally different way and receive them.
Yeah.
And it is that communication so beyond sort of that energetic communication of them.
Totally.
So that sort of opens up a lot of space for me and a lot of excitement, that it takes me so much further out than just the pets and what we've got at home, but actually my communion with the earth and nature.
And really everything.
And everything is
exactly.
Everything.
Because as weird as it sounds, you may even become more aware of when your car requires something, like your car is maybe asking for an oil change, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, my car needs an oil change. And you might think, well, how did I know that? Well, maybe the car told you. Hello. There is consciousness in everything. And when you actually start to recognize that, there might even be these bizarre things, like, you might recognize, like, you're going to someone's home and you're like, I'm not sitting on that chair. And later they find out one leg was was weak and you might have crashed down on it, but the chair was telling you, hey, I'm not, I'm not a proper chair anymore. I'm broken. Don't sit on me, right? So, but these are the things we're not willing to actually recognize, but these conversations are going on. Your plants are letting you know when you water them. Yes, some people have they have like a schedule. I water my plants every Sunday or whatever. But most of us don't, but all of a sudden we're like, oh, I should water the plants. Well, where did that thought come from? Probably a plant in the corner going, could I please have some water now? And the more you actually are recognizing that really everything is communicating. And there is no stopping to that. It's not because it's an inanimate object, it can't communicate. It's just different. But it still can communicate, and we might be receiving way more of that than we're actually giving ourselves credit for. So this class is really opening the door to also recognizing that you are already receiving a lot of these conversations, but you would have never thought it was a conversation.
I love that expression. I love that.
It's really interesting you're saying that. This is a really, really crazy example, but it almost is what you're talking about. I had arranged to do something with a friend. I think it was next Monday afternoon. And anyway, I had to cancel it. And she messaged me this morning and said, I swallowed my crown with my fish and chips last night. And the only appointment I could get at the dentist was when we were supposed to be meeting. She said, how psychic are you? And we really don't put all of these little things together. And, the more that you are just in the question and not coming to any conclusions about anything like you're saying. And then, when the little things pop in, don't just dismiss them completely immediately, at least ask the question, wow, what is that? And, and it really made me laugh when she messaged me and said that.
Yeah, but those are the little things that also make your life easier if you're willing to follow it, because then basically hey, it's kind of cool how it can make our life so much easier.
Yeah, totally.
I am so excited for this, because every time we talk, there are just more and more that little sort of narrow minded point of view that I had about what this class was has just been blown apart. And
cool.
It is just opening up so many more possibilities to what I can, but also everybody else who's joining the class can actually create, and what we can be for each other, the receiving, and for the animals, for nature, for everybody around us, for everything.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful.
Totally. Thank you. That's awesome.
So grateful. It's so excited. It's so excited that it's just so excited. I haven't even got words for it.
Well, and thank you for actually perceiving that too, and really recognizing that, oh wait, this is not just about let's talk to my cat,
No, there is so much more to it than that. And it's sort of, I just really, really, really curious to what is actually possible beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, it just struck me as well when you were talking about, it's not just about my cat or my dog or my budgie or my whatever. It just struck me when you were saying that if I'm really observing Charlie Cat out in the garden, how present he is and how clearly he's energetically receiving information all around him, and we don't always consider that they are having those conversations well, way more than we are probably. Well, yeah, I'm a slow learner. I hadn't really. I mean, I've observed him doing it and thought, I wonder what's going through his little head as he's eyeing up his next kill, kind of thing, you know. But yeah, just how present they are with their surroundings always.
Yeah. Well, and you can play with that too. You know, why don't you basically energetically ping him when he's out there, and maybe see how fast you guys make a connection, and when is he acknowledging it? Like, is he gonna look at you through the window, even if it's just a little glance? You know.
Oh.
Yeah, play with that too, because he's aware of you if you ping him, you know, and see how strong you can basically make yourself ping him. So he goes, wait, what's Maureen? Is she watching me? Oh, she sure is. Okay. You know, so
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to play with that.
Yeah, play with that.
Yeah.
And then we actually have maybe our last little question for today, but there's a lady asking like what tips can we give her about other cats showing up at her house and beating up her cat. To me, like the biggest part about all of this is for you to really be clear with your own cat about all of that, because some cats are actually inviting fights. So you may want to first actually look at like, what is my cat creating here? Is my cat creating other cats showing up? Because if you're starting to, hello, Charlie Cat, thank you. You know, because if you're trying to fight a fight for your animal that actually is not congruent with what they desire. So if they don't actually want to be defended, you are going to be fighting a fight basically yourself against this other cat, which you can also do. But if your cat is on the same page with you, then you guys can do it together and it will make life a lot easier. And then you have to look at, okay, so what would really threaten this cat that is coming? You know, is it like water? Is it noise? Is it me like running out there screaming bloody murder? Is it me having the energy of I will kill you, which then you have to be willing to kill? I'm just going to say that because an empty threat is not a threat at all. So please, when you're trying to make yourself into this big, ugly thing, you have to be willing to be that big, ugly thing. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So please know that whatever you threaten with, you also have to be willing to follow through. Meaning, if you're saying, I'm going to douse you in water, then you have to be willing to take out the hose and do it. So please don't threaten with, I will kill you, if you would never kill anyone else's cat, because it's not going to work. So find another threat that would be threatening to that cat, but also something you would be willing to do. And then most likely there is a way that you can keep this other cat out of your yard, away from your cat, etc. But it has to also be that your cat is willing to give up the fight too. And I've actually learned this from the dogs. I used to be a dog walker, and I could see how I always had this one dog who was sort of the alpha of everyone. He was like the wise one, and he was always keeping an eye on everything. And I could tell how he was like, when two dogs would get into it, he wouldn't just defend. He would just be looking at them and kind of go like, you know, teenagers, whatever, let them fight. But if one dog was really like, fuck, you know, oh fuck, you know, he would be there in a split second and reprimand the other dog. Like, it was so interesting to me, and I learned so much. And I realized, like, oh, if an animal is asking me for help, I am so willing to be there and be like, stop, you know, and really have my energy in it. But also recognizing when they're doing their shenanigans, or when they're like, you know, provoking or whatever, having fun with their fight, go ahead and fight, you know, and I mind my own business. So so that's also something to look at.
Yeah, there's so much, isn't there? Just
that is
Go on, May. Sorry.
No, I am just amazed again at how we take something that where we go to the conclusion and we look at it from a different point of view and just a different angle, and it suddenly opens up a different possibility to how we deal with a certain situation or with something, and we actually look at it from an animal's point of view as well. And that is, again, one of the things that I really look forward to in this class, is that we can really look at all those options and go beyond our own limitations and our own limiting points of views that we've got
Yeah, totally.
about how things should be and shouldn't be,
Yeah.
and the rightness and the wrongness and all of that, and we can really kind of open up and get something else. That's super excited. Actually, super, super excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think
thank you, Susie. We start on Thursday.
Yeah.
If anybody is interested, for 4 consecutive days with 3 hours a day. And it's actually, you said it's a really good US times as well for you, isn't it? It's sort of morning times.
Yeah.
And here in Europe, it's sort of early evening. So it's not any late nights for those two parts of the world. So
It's brilliant.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. I can't wait for all my limiting beliefs to have been blown apart by the time we finished all of this.
I am very, very excited. Yes.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Susie, for coming on and playing again today. And like May said, Will, if you want to jump on and join us, then we'll be here Thursday. And we'll be sending out times again, so everybody's got them at the last minute. And hey, jump on and play. If you think what we've done, and just in that we haven't even been on an hour today, and look how much stuff we've covered and explored and blown apart already. Wow, just imagine what it's going to be like. We have 4 days playing like this. So
yay.
Brilliant. Yay. Thanks a lot, Susie.
Thanks everybody so much for listening, and thank you, ladies, for having this conversation. It was lots of fun. And thanks everybody for your input and your questions and what else is possible.
Yeah, definitely.